Perfect. Okay. So let me do a little bit of introductions. We've got Marion here with me. He'll do an introduction here in a second. My name's Gray Juba. I'm the OT data and community strategist here at FlowFuse. I started about mid-October, but I've been using Node-RED since around the 2015 timeframe, when I was an automation and controls engineer in the manufacturing space, more focused on the discrete manufacturing space, programming PLCs, again, discrete PLCs, focused on Rockwell and Siemens, and during that time was a Siemens Solutions partner and held one of the certificates, but both on the system integration side and both the customer side. I took a kind of a journey as I had found, and dealing with a lot of products like this, and the new buzzwords at the time were IoT and IoT convergence. And I noticed very quickly that IT, what it felt like was IT getting in the way of a lot of things for me. And I decided, I was like, well, I got to start moving into that area to figure things out so I can kind of grease those wheels. And ended up taking some time over at Splunk for a little bit. And kind of that's where I started getting a little bit more of my cybersecurity background. And I've always wanted to come back into the OT space. And so I came back, found out about FlowFuse, and I was like, this is solving all the things that I was struggling with when I was doing Node-RED along around 2015 timeframe, because I wanted to put Node-RED and Raspberry Pis everywhere at that point in time. And security teams have always just kind of got in the way a little bit for it. So when I found out about FlowFuse, I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So excited to be here. You'll probably see me. I'm going to be doing streams and things like that, both on Twitch, YouTube, and I think there's one other service. But that's a little bit enough about me. I'll pass it over to Marion to kind of get a little bit of background, and then we'll kind of jump into blueprints. But I think Marion's going to do some introduction and then some FlowFuse updates.
Perfect. Thank you, Gray. Thank you, Gray, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Marion. It's a pleasure to be here today. As you might know, I'm the product manager of FlowFuse. My responsibilities revolve around developing and overseeing our product roadmap and ensuring that every aspect of our product activities aligns with our strategic goals and delivers value to our customers. Before joining FlowFuse, I spent several years at Bosch. My tenure there was marked by various roles, primarily in the IoT domain, so in the industrial Internet of Things domain. It was an enriching experience where I had the opportunity to lead and realize many IoT projects. Before we start today with our topics, with our topic blueprints, let me present to you our latest product updates. And therefore, I share my screen. 1 second. This.
And while you do that, Marion, I'm going to try to see if I can get chat enabled. So if you see me off to the side looking around, and I'm listening and paying attention. So
absolutely. And if there are any chat questions or Q&A questions, great, feel free to interrupt me and ask the questions for the chat, and we will try to answer the questions directly. So the changelog here, you can find the changelog under flowfuse.com/changelog. Here are all our latest updates, the newest features available in FlowFuse Cloud, and every 4 weeks as an NPM package for all our self-hosted customers. We released last week the two-factor authentication feature. I think it's a great feature which adds an extra layer of security to FlowFuse. Additionally, we also added the devices and DevOps pipelines feature. Previously, it was only possible to add to a DevOps pipeline FlowFuse hosted Node-RED instances And now it is also possible to add standalone independent devices to a DevOps pipelines as source of a DevOps pipeline. So at the very beginning of the pipeline or as a target. And this is, I think, a great step in the right direction of implementing devices as independent remote instances in FlowFuse. Yeah, just a really quick overview about our latest updates here. If you're interested or want to stay up to date, check out flowfuse.com/changelog or go to our blog and sign up for the newsletter. Also in our newsletter, you can find we will inform you about the latest updates. Great. Gray, you're muted, or is it my
I'm unmuted.
headphones?
No, it's me. So I just enabled chat. I believe if somebody wants to try chat real quick and see if those coming through, that'd be great. I just said enabling. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So chat's working again, so we're good to go. So perfect. That was a great update. So I think what we next want to kind of move into is like, so what are blueprints, and kind of give us a little background on those now.
Yeah, absolutely. So generally speaking about blueprints, blueprints are essentially templates or template designed for Node-RED that offer a simple and efficient way for new users to dive into Node-RED. Or for those already familiar with Node-RED, blueprints serve as a source of inspiration and a repository of ideas, showcasing the possibilities with Node-RED, and yeah, somehow igniting the spark for new projects for those who are already familiar with Node-RED. You can find all available blueprints under flowfuse.com/blueprints. There on our website is an overview of all available blueprints. Or if you go to your FlowFuse instance, you can click on Add an Instance. And here you also have an overview about all available blueprints. So currently available 3 blueprints: the performance overview dashboard, the end-on operator terminal, and the OEE calculator. And I can promise we will add more and more blueprints to FlowFuse. Maybe let us start with our first blueprint. So generally speaking about the agenda today, I will present to you all 3 blueprints, explain a little bit the concept of each blueprint, and later I will talk about the future vision, future concepts of blueprints. So let me go to my instance here. And in my instance already pre-deployed is the OEE calculator blueprint. If it's not clear what is an OEE, OEE is an KPI, a very popular KPI in manufacturing to calculate your overall equipment effectiveness. And yeah, this is a dashboard and also a Node-RED flow. Because in Node-RED, as you might know, you can create certain dashboards, and the dashboard looks like this. This is comes, so to say, predefined as an instance in FlowFuse. And this dashboard allows you to load, for example, a machine, for example, our demo machine here. We can select an item number, an operation number, and in work order. And then we can type in all the informations necessary for standard OEE calculations. I know there's a standard OEE, but there are different options to calculate an OEE. And afterwards, we can manually calculate our OEE. Why is this useful? Or why is this sometimes necessary? If you have a machine that is 100% offline and maybe you do not want to retrofit this machine, this is still a way to calculate the OEE and submit the data digitally. Of course, a better workflow just from digitalization perspective is to connect, collect, and store the data automatically from your PLC, and Node-RED is a great tool to do so. And therefore, we have other blueprints to come. For example, already available our performance overview blueprint, where you could connect your live machinery and equipment and present the available KPIs on this dashboard. Or another blueprint on our roadmap is the OEE overview dashboard. And of course, a very good way, or the standard way, should be that the OEE is calculated automatically and not with manual input. But from time to time, it is helpful to have such a calculator at hand.
So, Marion, we got a couple of questions. I think this is kind of a good time for that. So,
Yeah.
when you think about blueprints, and these are, say, can you install Node-RED modules also in? And I'm assuming that means, does the blueprints manage the modules as well? Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So this leads basically to the question, what is the difference between a flow and a blueprint? And you're absolutely right saying 90% of a blueprint is the Node-RED flow, but it includes also certain modules like the dashboard here. So everything comes pre-installed when selecting a certain blueprint. And everything is up and running, and can be, of course, modified by the user.
And the next follow-up question is, how does Blueprints work in OS Node-RED as well, or is it tied to FlowFuse?
So currently, blueprints are just available for FlowFuse customers. So it is not an open source feature or an open source feature set. It is available for all FlowFuse customers and comes free of charge besides the normal standard FlowFuse pricing.
Yeah, and I would add to that, and that's kind of why the differentiator, when you start thinking about that install node modules as well, those are kind of like those features that really kind of help differentiate a kind of like a service to help making some of these things a lot easier. So once you have a blueprint, and let's say you bring it in and you tweak it a little bit, you can then convert that into like a library that then you can share and things like that. So within your system and your environment, within your FlowFuse environments. Another question, can we import OPC UA modules? And I'm assuming that question has to do with, can you import an OPC UA module within the FlowFuse system? And I'll go ahead and say yes, it has all the access to palette managers and things like that. So if you want to click up and select the palette manager in the top right, Marion, and just kind of show that you have all the access of Node-RED functionality there with the enriched capabilities. I say, for example, environment variables or things like that we built into the UI that makes it a lot easier to kind of manage and so forth. So, but then you do have all the access to the Node-RED nodes as well here. So, but I'll let you continue, and I'll pause.
No, this is great. Yes, exactly as you said, all npm modules are available also in a blueprint. This is a normal FlowFuse Node-RED environment, so you have all the freedom to modify the flows. So this differentiates us from, I would say, a standard solution provider who provides you an OEE calculator, an OEE dashboard, which comes out of the box, and you can't modify it, or they expect a certain input. You can change everything. It is just, as I said, a repository of ideas, and you can modify every template, every flow exactly to your needs. How is this structured? Normally, we structure blueprints if it is a dashboard, like the dashboard. So going back to the dashboard overview, we can see here on the left-hand side, the load machine, select machine section. And here on the left-hand side, the load machine and select machine section. And this brings me also to the documentation. Of course, we have a README file here, providing you more information and in general overview about the blueprint, how to start, what is possible, but also generally available in the flow itself, comment notes. For example, here in the select machine overview, currently this is a static workflow. So leads to, if I type in anything, it will present me exactly this machine because I don't know which machines are available. But of course, it is possible to load or to connect a database with the available machines, or to use the drop-down menu to add several options like add your machine A, B, and C. And afterwards, the drop-down menu is available in your blueprint, and you can select from your machine A, B, or C. And of course, if you submit the data, you should also store the data. And currently in the blueprint, it is just calculated, but it is not stored anywhere. But if you want to store it in a database, in a unified namespace, send it to an MQTT broker and Kafka broker whatsoever, it is of course possible with Node-RED, and you should definitely do this based on where do you need this information. Another possibility, great possibility, is also to send it to another Node-RED instance, because we have this great functionality to send out information to another Node-RED instance within FlowFuse, no matter if it's a device or a cloud or FlowFuse hosted instance. Yes, this is first overview about our first blueprint. As I said, currently available 3 blueprints, and later I will talk about our future plans. The second blueprint is the performance dashboard. And I have stored here in my instance all available blueprints as snapshots. And you're maybe already familiar with the snapshot functionality in FlowFuse. Means snapshots are a way to manage your different versions of your flows, and so it is relatively easy to switch between the different blueprints with just a single click via our snapshot functionality. So this
get off mute. So that actually brings up one of the questions that came into the chat. It says, define the difference between a snapshot and a blueprint. And in a lot of the ways, a blueprint is a certified FlowFuse snapshot. In a way, in a lot of ways, it basically could be kind of said the same thing.
Yeah.
But so essentially you could create your own blueprint per se by using snapshots that are only privately owned to your, let's say, organization within the FlowFuse platform.
A great way to share blueprints in your own organization and your team is the team library, because the team library allows you to share flows, at least the flows in your team, but the blueprints are FlowFuse created, FlowFuse certified, and this is exactly as you said, the major difference between a snapshot and a blueprint. So a snapshot can be created by the user, a blueprint is always FlowFuse created.
I think that answered the next question, which was, can you make your own blueprints? And through snapshots, the answer would be yes, but it's not necessarily like a blueprint the way you would roll it out in the functionality.
Exactly. So Definitely, yes, you can create your own snapshot, absolutely, and share it also in your organization, in your team. But the difference to a blueprint is a blueprint would be available to, yeah, all FlowFuse customers, um, which which isn't the case with a snapshot.
And I would also say that libraries kind of function that way too, to some
Uh,
extent. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
perfect. All right. We've got one question. Have you tested OEE Blueprint on real-time data from a machine? Also, what challenges did you face while integrating this into the shop floor? So the answer is right now it's kind of more of like a calculator in which it could be integrated with the shop floor. If it is that correct? I don't know if you want to take that, Marion.
Yeah. So the OEE calculator, just talking about the calculator, it's basically for machines that are not connected. But how we test it to calculate OEE with Node-RED? Absolutely yes. It is possible. Um, I was involved in many IIoT projects in my former role, and it's absolutely no problem to calculate any KPIs like OEE, performance, quality, and so on directly in Node-RED. Or when talking about FlowFuse, I would separate the connect, collect, store, um, and would separate this to a device, and the calculation, the OEE calculation, the visualization, the analytics part to a FlowFuse FlowFuse hosted instance. As I said, the communication would be realized with our project in, project out nodes. Yeah. Any other questions so far?
No, these are great questions, but I think we're good for right now. I think we had one come through, but let's continue on with the next dashboard
Absolutely.
or the next blueprint, I should say.
Yeah. Um, this is the performance dashboard. And as you can see, really classic KPIs for manufacturing, like running and down events, some downtime reasons, for example, changeover, setup time, maintenance, break, no material. And we have the downtime in percentage, the uptime in percentage, the first part yield. This could be a performance dashboard for a single workstation or line in manufacturing. And as I said, again, the flow itself in Node-RED is structured exactly like the dashboard. If we look here on the left side, like running and down events, we can see here the running and down events, and every blue element here, node, is an UI node generating our dashboard, and every other node here is basically for the generation of the data in our demo environment here. But of course, and maybe this is a good transition to the question we had earlier in the chat, is it possible to connect here your real data? Absolutely yes. This is why we created this blueprint, to basically showcase, okay, this is an example visualization. Of course, you can change this visualization to your needs to build really a bespoke application. But you should definitely connect this to your real data in your manufacturing environment. And again, as I already said, it is again, we added also README file here, comments here, and if there is something unclear, I hope this is obvious for all our FlowFuse customers. If you have questions, also blueprint questions, feel free during the creation or configuration or integration into your existing enterprise environment, feel free to reach out to our support. We are really happy to help you with the configuration or to answer any questions with the blueprints.
So before we move on, I think we had a really a question that I think it's a little off topic, but I feel like it might be a good kind of transition. Um, so, are we able to upload Node-RED modules into FlowFuse if I created my own custom, let's say, node? And what is the option of that? Do I still need to make that publicly available so that I can then have access through the palette manager?
So this is a very, very different question from the blueprint,
Yeah,
but it's a really
yeah.
good one. So what we added to FlowFuse is the possibility to add custom node catalogs and a custom npm configuration file. This allows you to host your own npm modules in a private npm registry and generate your own node catalog. You can add this node catalog to your FlowFuse instances and add also the npm configuration file for authentication to your npm registry, which allows you to access and download your own custom npm modules within FlowFuse. So the answer is yes, it is possible. All the details on our website in a blog article. There's an exact description of how to set up your own npm registry, how to generate an node catalog. So all the information is available in our blog publicly. It is not as easy as an upload button, but it is definitely possible, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, it was more. I was like, I think this is possible. I know he's had this question before. Mary will
Yeah,
be
it's a
ready
good
for the
question.
answer.
It's a really
It's a
good
great
question.
question. Yeah, and I feel like take that time. So continue on. I'm going to take the little more questions that may not necessarily be directly tied to blueprints, and we can answer those at the end. So, but that one, I was like, I gotta know. We gotta get to this one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this whole session here, this whole webinar is all about the community and to answer also questions. So feel free to ask any kind of questions, not necessarily about blueprints. But yeah, let me continue with the blueprints. Let me just perfect.
And while you're doing that, I think I'm going to answer the next question, which is basically,
Yeah.
is there an application for blueprints when the dashboard or display is not involved? And the answer is right now, that is more than possible that we could create a blueprint that specifically focuses around, let's say, data transformation of, let's say, going from MQTT to Influx DB or some other kind of database service, in which we would just create a blueprint that allows you to do that standard translation. So think of it as a very advanced custom flow in which we've already done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And it's kind of like the blue check mark, I guess you could say, as far as like the Twitter or X blue check mark to say that we get the sign off on this particular flow. We support it and things like that. So continue on.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in addition to this question, as you might have noticed, the first blueprints focus primarily on the manufacturing sector. But however, they're not limited to this industry alone. So we are also working on, for example, a Node-RED getting started section for blueprints. And our plan is really to expand our offering here. And I can assure you that we will release a minimum of 10 blueprints before Christmas. Also talking about getting started blueprints, database blueprints, and other industries or other domains than
Great.
manufacturing.
Yeah, great question. And that's one of the things that we kind of want to get to at the end of is like, where other industries would you like to see blueprints? Would you like to see them more higher in that, outside of manufacturing? Would you see some specific integration you would like to just say blueprint that in the benefit of blueprints is it's going to be mass propagated onto multiple different things. So we're just kind of getting you a good started point and your starting point, and then to be able to move it to a different area if need be.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this will be our last blueprint for today, the last blueprint available currently for all our FlowFuse customers. This is an end-on operator terminal, allows operators to start an end-on process. So currently our workstation 1 demo is running, and now we can say, hi, we have a demo problem here on our workstation 1. It is related to material, which will send this information directly, in theory, to our logistics department. And we can add need more material here and log this event. And now the notification has been sent to the material or logistics department. We can see here the unknown event and the details. And so, yeah, we can, of course, with Node-RED connect any ticket support systems that are already available in your company, in your business. But of course, it is also possible to track those tickets directly in Node-RED or forward them to another dashboard where users accept or close. This end-on event means our workstation demo 1 is currently down. And if we close this, our workstation hopefully is back and running, up and running again.
In
And
one of the benefits
yeah,
of all these is it's kind of giving you the template. While it is somewhat manual, what we've done is given you the building blocks to say, how do I want to integrate to those different systems, so I can automatically populate this information. So the hard work visualization is already kind of templatized for you, and then you can say, hey, how do I want to then massage this into a useful feature, in which, let's say, for example, you're a system integrator and you want to create you're going to say, okay, I'm going to start off with, like, let's say, the FlowFuse template, and then I'm going to or blueprint, I should say, and then I'm going to add and do some adjustments and things like that. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to make it a library that I'm going to then propagate to my customers or something like that within my FlowFuse, let's say, team environment, to say, hey, I'm managing this for you. I'm going to get you up and running and kind of get you started a lot quicker. So think of it from that perspective as well.
absolutely. As I said, it is really about a collection of ideas and a repository for new projects. And yeah, feel really free to modify the blueprints and adjust them to your needs. And again, here on the left-hand side is our overview about the workstation. On the right-hand side, the log event input, and down here, the end-on event. And as we can see here, on the left side, we have the station overview with our 2 events running and stopped. This could be directly connected to the PLC, where we have the information available. We have the log events flow, we have the notification, and we have the end-on event details. And yeah, as Greg said, the magic starts with the integration into your existing enterprise environment.
Great. So I've got a couple of questions that I've set off to the side that I want to focus maybe still on kind of blueprints for a
Yeah.
little bit, and then we'll kind of answer maybe some of these other questions that have come up. So we kind of highlighted what industries and said, okay, industries, manufacturing, let's say, outside of those industries. I'm really looking forward to part of the survey that we have coming up at the end of it is actually going to have that question. So please, when you see that exit survey, please answer that, because we want to see where you would like to see them in the future. And who will get the best use out of a blueprint from a standpoint of, like, do you think this is going to be a system integrator? Is this going to be, let's say, a corporate level automation engineer? Where do you think it should be? And maybe that would be something I'd like to get some feedback from the community that's listening in, to say, who would be
Yeah.
Who do you think is the ideal person that would get the best use out of a blueprint? So I'll
Yeah.
let you
Good,
go for
good,
Marion.
good question. So currently I would say all FlowFuse customers, and really currently those with a manufacturing background, clearly, because our 3 blueprints available are very manufacturing specific. But as I already promised, we will expand our offering here and provide also blueprints around Node-RED getting started and other domains. I would say
Perfect.
all FlowFuse customers and users as well as integrators.
And since this question has kind of come up about, can I create my own blueprints and things like that, it makes me think about the DevOps pipeline. I know we have some discussions going behind the scenes about that. Maybe this is a good time to highlight how that would work. Let's say you created your own, let's say, equivalent of what you would describe as a blueprint. How about you show me like how that flow would kind of work? Putting you on the spot a little bit, but I know that this is something that we've kind of talked about, and how I would want to maybe say, I want to take this blueprint, in this case, my own custom one that I've created, and move it to another system or machine. Could you kind of maybe highlight that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. This is really my personal environment here in FlowFuse. So this is my demo environment and my dev environment, and I have here two pipelines from my dev to my real demo environment and from my demo to my dev environment. So normally maybe in an enterprise environment, you would just have one pipeline, your staging or demo environment or development environment, and then your productive instance. And what you can do basically is to do all the development in, or create an instance within Blueprint, do all the development, the changes necessary to integrate it in your environment. And if you're happy, you can create a DevOps pipeline and deploy all your changes directly to your productive instance. And now, as I presented earlier, since last week, it is also possible to add devices to my DevOps pipeline. And here, called Productive, is my personal Raspberry Pi. I have here right behind me. Don't know if it's visible, but a Revolution Pi, some Vago devices, some PLCs up and running. So in theory, we could also connect them or develop on those devices and add them to a DevOps pipeline. And I think this is really a great way, a new experience for Node-RED users.
Perfect. Thanks for doing that. I just kind of wanted to highlight that and just show that that's like that pathway if you wanted to kind of create your own structure, whether it's going to be rolling out within a plant and facility. Let's say machine one has the same structure that you need to propagate to, let's say, 13 other machines. Or let's say, for example, you want to then propagate some information to a different system within a different, different environment. So next question. So I think we've kind of gone over the ones that I've kind of had off to the side, as far as what industries, blueprints, DevOps pipeline, SLU blueprints. Perfect. So let's go over to questions from the community that may not necessarily be around blueprints. So one of this is by Kenneth. We had a question: can you use a secondary access using charts? And that's one of the things that I think I've actually talked to Joe about this, about dashboards 2.0 and having a secondary access. I don't know where it is in the production, but I can link out, and if you want to follow up with me and my stream, we can actually go through that, and I can take you to where the roadmap is for dashboards 2.0. And so you can see exactly. And if that's something that you are interested in seeing, it's really good to go directly to, let's say, GitHub and raise an issue or a PR request for something like that, because that really, or an issue, not a PR request, but an issue to say, hey, I want this secondary access, because that's something that I was thinking about as well, because things are in different scales and so forth. But Mary, maybe that's already something that's been done.
Let me, I is the meaning of secondary access like multi-user dashboard, or is it just really a secondary access? Like, because of course within FlowFuse we have a role-based access control, and you can add multiple users to your team, and we have also the possibility of single sign-on integration and so on. Yeah.
I think we have an accent. So axis AXIS. So like a XYZ axis of
Okay.
secondary axis. So you have, let's say, scalability issues on, let's say, I want to plot temperature versus, let's say, ramp speed of something. I want to have temperature that it might be measuring in, let's say, Celsius, but my ramp speed is in, let's say, millimeters per second, and your axis is going to be off. And so I want to have a millimeters and then a um, let's say temperature on two different axes. So different
Yeah.
types. I think that was that. So, and then the next question, I think I know the answer to this. Does FlowFuse build and support Node drivers specifically for Allen Bradley or Seams or specific PLCs, or does it instead using the open source options currently available for Node-RED? So currently available, we're dependent on the open source community for those types of solutions, which have been and used in a lot of different environments. But I think maybe what would probably, and again, these are kind of forward-looking statements. We need a forward-looking statement clause. Is thinking that, like, I could see where we have certified nodes. Is this where maybe, Marion, we would think about maybe certified nodes is something like that, to say, hey, we gotta give this approval check mark for this particular device. So maybe I'll let you expand on that if you have more details there.
Yeah. So it's exactly as you said. We're using currently the open source connectors, but what we have added is FlowFuse certified nodes, and FlowFuse certified nodes is exactly this extra layer of security. So we're checking the current version of each of those flows of those nodes, and on malware or any harmful elements, and also on compatibility. So you ask specifically for Siemens and Allen Bradley. Both are not currently in the certified nodes section, but the I'm not sure if they're on the to-do list or if they're in the certified node section already, but both, at least I'm familiar with the Siemens connector, is a connector that I can recommend. Yeah.
Great question. So I think we're actually near the end of our questions. I want to make sure that we got any more thoughts there. So want to remind everybody, here in about 15 minutes, I'm going to be going live and just kind of doing what I was continue making. And what I might pivot is pulling in maybe one of these blueprints and maybe kind of diving into that and talking about that, discussions about integrating with a database or things like that. So, but again, is there, the question that I ask is the community, if anybody wants to chime in, is basically, what blueprints would you like to see in the future? The link to the live stream. So let me drop a link to the live stream, and please ask any questions about any or if you want to put in the chat any recommended blueprints for the future, and then also in the what's the word that I'm looking for, in the survey that we have in the end. But I will link out the
One question
there we go.
in the Q&A session is, will there be a blueprint for predictive maintenance? Answer is, it is not in the repository yet, but it is a very valid use case. So answer is probably yes. But you can already today create predictive maintenance solution within Node-RED. So the tool and the possibility is already present today, and you can start to build your application, your solution today. But a predictive maintenance solution or predictive maintenance blueprint is a very general request, and I would say, yeah, at some point we will add the predictive maintenance blueprint.
And so I wanted to tie in to say there was another question of live stream. I put the link tree in there, and then so if you depend whether you want the Twitch, YouTube, or one of the other ones that's in there. Um, but predictive maintenance blueprints. So, would that tie into when you think about that? Because I do kind of like to think about things like that. Would you
Yeah.
imagine that would tie into some other backend system that would be the predictive maintenance, or would you say having one that would tie into, let's say, a machine learning system that we would be piping data into, and we would then create one for, let's say, like bearing temperature? Or what's your thoughts there? Because I mean, I'm interested because that's something that I always think about is how could you create leveraging, let's say, open source tools and machine learning libraries. And as things like ChatGPT and all these things are changing so rapidly, maybe it's a little bit too early, but what's your thought there?
Yeah. So there are different ways to approach this. Clearly, the very basic approach would be like a rule-based approach for predictive maintenance, where you have the possibility in the dashboard to set up several rules, like in upper bound, lower bound, some statistical analysis to help you with your maintenance workflow. And the next step, and I would love to see such a blueprint, is definitely about machine learning, and to add connectors for certain machine learning algorithms that help you to predict certain events in the future.
Yeah, and when you're kind of talking about this, and my first step would be, let's say, anomaly detection. So you would want to then say, you're going to put your data into some database that you've already been using, whether or not it has some anomaly detection features within that system or not. Then you could then do standard deviations within that, leveraging two different systems, and then somehow saying, okay, I'm going to compress this data and say, are we so send it into a model and then automatically, adjust the model based off of the particular product or something like that. And
Right.
then say, if I have an alert, then send my alert to different systems. Like there's so many different ways, because my brain was like, okay, predictive maintenance is such a very broad tool, but you tickled my brain and thinking about, it's like, how would I do that? What would I want to tackle first? And simplistically, you would want to
Right.
first off and say, what is a standard deviation of this environment? And then what I think about Node-RED and how FlowFuse would play in that is like, where do you want that notification to go? Where do you want to be seeing that? Do you want that as to be like an and on board type of thing, notification of, let's say, predictive maintenance and tying into that? Or do you want to be having that sent via an email or via like one of these alerting systems to say, hey, we seem like we're having some issues here, and maybe that's going to your central repository for us, say, alerting, and
Right.
you have somebody overlooking that. So there's just so many ways to kind of skin that. um
Absolutely.
but yeah, awesome. Let me see. It doesn't seem like there's any more questions. No need to really kind of stick around here too much. But Marion, is there anything last thing you want to cover or say?
No, thank you. I think it was a great session, and I wish you all the best for the live stream after our webinar.
Sounds great. And
What's your topic of the live stream?
well, so what I've been doing recently is I've been kind of, we had the OE dashboard and the blueprints, and we had the one when we were in Barcelona and that we were kind of creating. And so I've been kind of continuing that, and mainly focusing on the integration between the databases or systems. So where yours is kind of like the shell of the core dashboards and visualizations to send data to, what I've been working on is how to get data in and where that data is going to live. Because we started working with
Right.
context data
Yeah.
when we were working on that as kind of a group. And I realized the limitations of that were very quickly kind of sent us, if you persistent and where do you want this data to live? And you're going to want to have access it somewhere outside of probably, the Node-RED environment. You want it to live somewhere so you can just makes sense. So that's what I've been focusing on. I started off with just using like a MySQL database and integrating with it, putting FlowFuse in a Docker container. Um, Running into like the MySQL needing an IP address that wasn't itself, and so I'm gonna actually start off the whole process of saying, okay, I now need to accept an IP address from my home network. So it's all the standard stuff that you kind of get through when you get the headaches of stuff, and it to me it's just kind of fun doing creating, and then once my goal is to kind of get the shell of that integration that goes in with, let's say, your OEE blueprint, and then maybe what we can do is say you have the core OEE blueprint, and then I would then create flows that would maybe kind of be like open source or something, like in the flows that say this is how you tie these all together. Because if your data lives in this environment, you'll need this flow. If your data lives in this environment, you need that flow. So that's kind of what I'm building out, is extending those capabilities, and
Right.
asking people's questions as we go along. So and really just kind of creating awareness of FlowFuse while I do it. So awesome.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and we will be communicating in a month. I think we got some couple ideas. We're going to keep it a little bit more casual. So who knows? It might be something like making a countdown timer within Node-RED or something like that. So we'll be sharing that, and keep an eye out for that in the future. So thank you everybody for joining, and see you on the stream or next month. Thanks.
Thank you.